Engage fluo injectors.
Engaging fluo injectors.
Fluo reactors at 80%, sir.
Fluo containment field is destabilizing.
Emergency fluo containment protocols now. All hands brace for impact.
Brace for impact in 3, 2, 1.
Sacred dangling spheroids. We're back with another episode of World 1-1 Podcast. Before we get into the good stuff, you can and should, as always, find us at our home at Podbean. That's at world11.podbean.com, all spelled out, all one word. You can pick us up on all your favorite podcatcher services, anywhere from Google Podcasts to Apple Podcasts, all the way over to Spotify and Good Pods, and everything in between. With all that out of the way, let's get right into it.
Choose your fighter.
I am, as always, your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. Joining me this week is Zoe.
Hello.
And Joshua Jolly Round LeGrew.
Yay, what's
You
up?
almost became Jolly Ground Beef LeGrew.
Yeah, yep. It was that close. That close.
I'm so jealous. I don't ever get a cool nickname. It's just Zoe. And I'm like, I want a cool nickname too. Feel
That's
like
up to Larry. Larry's
I
gotta
know
make
it
a
is.
nickname. He
And
makes
I'm
a
like,
nickname.
Kathy's
He's
got
changed-
one.
Yeah, he's
and-
changed mine like 4 times.
Which is fine, but he hasn't even made up one for me yet. And I think the one he did was so racially motivated.
Had nothing to do with race. It had everything to do specifically with hairdo.
Oh yeah, because my hair was all puffy.
And then you made a big stink about it.
When you make a big stink about something, that's
Zoe
how
the
you
Fro.
get a nickname around here. You make a big stink
so
about
the
something.
Fro. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
You make a big stink about something, and then he'll make it your nickname.
I think he actually was like serious, like that's what we should call you. And I was like, if you want to
No.
remain alive, you're not gonna.
Well, let's dig right in with
Oh my gosh!
Video games.
Josh. What the hell have you been playing?
Still playing Mass Effect 2. I don't know if I talked about that. I think I did. That I finished 1. I'm on to 2. I'm about halfway through 2. I forget how much of that game I actually forgot. Like the actual story part of it, going like the main overarching story you remember, but
Yeah,
just
the details get lost.
and how good that game really is. So with the Legendary Edition out, I'm just like, I'm gonna dig back into this. Played a little more of 12 minutes. I actually am really liking that game, but I'm a very old school PC gamer, point and click. So I can see where that game was going to piss some people off from just the repetitive nature of it. Also with a controller, it's definitely made for a PC because you have to put you have to put the you have to put the cursor right on somebody and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff, I'm digging it. I'm not like head over heels with it, but I really love the idea. I like the game idea, the mechanics of it too. So those are the 2 games I've been really digging into. But got some retro stuff I'm going to be digging into this week, I think.
Nice. I was going to ask if you were playing 12 minutes on console or PC, but yeah.
On console, yeah. I don't have. I mean, here's a spoiler alert: my PC is very old and it does not play games anymore, except for like Doom and other things, and not Doom 2016. We're talking about old school Doom.
Right.
Yep.
Zoe, what have you been playing?
You live with me. You know I've been playing a whole hell of a lot of nothing.
Yeah, I know. It's been a little rough around our house the last couple of weeks. There's just been
I started back at work.
so much.
Yeah.
And if you're
get
listening to this, respect fucking teachers. Like, you don't know the shit that we put up with. Like, if you just think, oh, they're babysitters, you could just just take all your shit, pack it into and just fuck off.
I have respect for anyone that works with smaller humans than me.
Cause like the shit that we put up, like I don't even mean kids.
Yeah, I know.
Like the
it's
kids,
the parents. I know.
and the kids, and some of the parents. And I can't say all of the parents, but then,
No.
like, I get to parents who are like, I don't even know what to do with my kid. I'm like, if you don't know what the fuck to do with your kid, how am I supposed to know what to do with your kid? It's your kid. Like, why is this my job now to, like, have to deal with this? So, my sanity is hanging on by a very,
You look sane enough.
well, thank you.
You also look like you're kind of fading into the painting in the background on Skype.
As do you, Larry.
I know. I was a little lean.
Like, I always think when I see Zoe's background like that, I think of it's MCU movie. Gosh, why can't I think of it now? With Benedict Cumberbatch, you know?
Oh, Doctor
Oh,
Strange.
Doctor Strange, like at the end, like when he's like I just like that kind of
Oh.
like nebulous background, you know? when he keeps
Dormammu.
repeating, yeah.
I've come to bargain.
Yeah, that's all I see right here, right now.
I mean, I picked it because it was the bi pride flag colors. There was a whole
Oh,
bunch of like
okay.
LGBTQ stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, this one looks cool."
Okay, now I see what you're saying, but I didn't really get it because that's just me. I'm thick, so.
No, it's okay.
See, that background reminds me of like the 80s, 90s Dixie paper cups that you kept in the bathroom.
Oh
It
my
does, actually.
God.
It's like a close up of one of them. Yeah.
Changing my background now. That sucks.
It's not a bad thing. It just reminds me of that.
Now
No.
I remember going through those cups as a kid, and like we would use them too fast, and then my mom would yell at us.
Right?
It's expensive. Don't use them so much. Well, I'm getting a drink of water. You can use more than one. You can use a cup for a whole day.
So Larry, what have you been playing?
I've continued to not as heavily this week. Things have been chaotic, but I have continued to dink around with the sequel to the game that we do not talk about. Let's see what else. Oh, I did actually piss around with 12 minutes for a little bit. I mean, just a very little bit, just enough to know that, you know what? Yeah, no, this is set up like old school PC point and click,
Yeah.
but on a console. But the problem is that there's been other games that have done that.
better.
Wait,
Yeah.
like there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that could have been done to optimize that.
I agree with
just weren't.
I do agree. I
Like,
do
I
agree.
really get the impression that was made for PC and done with a real lazy port,
Yeah, I kind of agree with that,
which is sad.
and that's why I've been kind of not like going back to it a lot on console. I might actually, believe it or not, I might actually plug in a mouse to my Xbox and see if I can use it on there. Because
I would. Shit.
because you can do that with Xbox now. So
I have a question, Larry. When you
Yes.
say the game that we don't speak of, is that just like code amongst like us, or do your like listeners know what the hell you're talking about?
You know what? There's a few people out there that might actually know, because I have told that story in private to a few people.
Oh, crap.
But yeah, our power's flickering again. Awesome. We'll see what happens. I
That
mean,
was
on the
twice now.
Right. On the upside, my computer, the modem, and the router are all plugged into the battery backup.
yeah, so if you get a power flicker, you're
Like
good.
my second monitor is not, so that flickered off and on.
Right, I have that same setup, Larry.
Oh, there's a third and a fourth. So, but in any case, I've told that story in private to a few people. I have never publicly broadcast that story. I almost got real close to thinking about it last week, just because I broke that rule just once, because it was the only thing that I had played all damn week, and I had a lot of thoughts, and then I resealed that fucking envelope. And boom. So if you want to know, if you don't know what the game we don't talk about is, and you want to know, listen to last week's episode with Phil Summers.
With Phil.
So, yeah. So,
Great
there's
episode,
that
by
thought.
the way.
It was. He's a good dude and good work. So,
Doing good work
Um,
until the 10th of September, I think, too. So
Hey, Larry.
yes.
Quick side note: what was Liv watching?
Lego Batman movie.
Thank you. Sorry, the power cut out and her TV turned off, so I'm fixing
Yeah.
it.
So to all of our listeners, all 4 of you, this is what, parenting on the fly looks like while you're podcasting. So, but in any case, I also dinked around with Curse of the Dead Gods a little bit.
Oh, how do you like that?
It makes me
When you said a
upset at
little
my-
bit, how much did you play?
maybe like 20, 30 minutes, just
Okay.
enough to kind of
Just wet your
realize that, yeah,
whistle? Okay,
I
wet-
realized that I really should finish Hades, which I've
Yeah.
also barely touched, but I've at least put a couple hours into Hades versus, I've only played like 20 minutes of Curse of the Dead Gods, but I like the premise behind Curse of the Dead Gods, and it's also got me jonesing to, I would really like to get to play Returnal. It looks interesting. It fascinates me.
Yes, that's
Um,
my game I want to play. The only game I want a PS5 for right now is that game,
Right.
to be honest. I mean,
Yeah. That said, there's a couple of games that have very rapidly and heavily hit my wish list over the last week or so. I've had eyes on Grime for a while now, but with the release and the reviews that are out, I am really jazzed to play that.
sure.
Like, as soon as I finish the game that I'm working on,
You want to get that one in.
that's the next one.
Yeah, and what else?
It's been lingering in the background on my wish list only because it's only on PC, but I've come to the conclusion that if I'm looking at saddling up for Grime, which is also only on the PC, I'm like, I may as well bite the bullet and get into this one too. I've had my eyes on for like 8 months now a game called Against the Moon. It's
I don't know. I
Slay
haven't
the-
heard of it.
Think Slay the Spire, but also with a touch of like tactics built into it.
All right, I'm looking at it now just to get a
And
turn-based
then-
strategy, huh?
Yeah. So it's a like roguelike deck builder game, but it's also plays out on like a grid, so there's a tactics element.
It's supposed to be on
And-
Switch, Larry.
Yeah, it's not yet.
It says it is.
Is it? All right, now I'm gonna look. Fuck it.
Oh,
Um,
you know what? It says it is, but I don't know if it is because it got a really bad PC score. So
Did
it
it
might
really?
not. It might not have been
Oh.
ported over. It also says it's on Xbox and PS4.
I don't
Let
know.
me go look.
I know it was supposed to come to those. I don't think it ever did
A
yet.
tactical roguelike deck builder.
Mm-hmm. But
It,
one of the
it
things.
looks interesting, that's for sure. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right, Larry. It's not anywhere else yet.
One of the things that grabbed my attention though was that like the card upgrade mechanic in there, unlike Slay the Spire, it allows you to have like forking directions for how you upgrade your cards.
Sure.
So, it's kind of like the Eevee Pokemon evolution thing, where it's like you can choose to do this thing or this thing or this thing with your upgrade. Which would you like to do? Rather than just going, upgrade your card, here's the upgraded version.
Okay.
So
Well, that's
that
fair.
caught my attention.
Yeah, it's
Um,
different.
Yeah. So there's those. They're on my list. They're basically next in line, and then obviously today's news got me really excited. And
Blasphemous 2.
yeah, buddy. The Wounds of Evertide DLC is coming for free in December, which will be the final chapter of DLC for Blasphemous. All of which has been free, by the way.
Which is
So,
awesome. It's baller.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. shout out to companies like the Game Kitchen and Motion Twin that have done so much good free DLC for their game to continue to support. But yeah. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'm gonna throw a link to it in the show notes. Go watch the trailer they released today for the Wounds of Evertide DLC, because it is all this just gorgeous animated spectacle, and I'm like, my God, I need like a Netflix series of this animation, please. Not to mention, honestly, that world is ripe for that kind of storytelling, like all of the Castlevania series on Netflix.
Yeah, it's got a good. It's got a good story. So.
Yeah,
but
it's got a good story, a rich world.
I was disappointed. They say it's coming in 2023, so
yeah,
ways off.
Yes and no. I mean, it's also full sequel too. So if you figure they finally are just finishing the end of Blasphemous 1,
yeah,
and you're gonna get ready for a full sequel, a 2-year turnaround on development time is not a grievous ask.
And I'm guessing they're probably already making it, so
more than likely.
Yeah.
Speaking of Blasphemous 2, I have a subtitle for this game already picked out in my head, and I want it to be that. I want it to be something like, Blasphemous 2 Eternal Penance.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like that's a very appropriate title for that. So, I don't know. A big part of me just wants it to have a really kick-ass subtitle. Something that just leans into it. So, but that's kind of been what I've been playing. I don't remember. Maybe have I been playing anything else? I did download the demo for Route 96 as well, but I haven't cracked it open yet. No. Oh, no. I did also piss around with some Ender Lilies again, too.
Oh, okay.
So, it still proceeds to, kick my ass, but it's still cool and fun, and I want to finish it.
Hey, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to finish it eventually if I ever want to achieve my new life goal of playing and beating every Metroidvania.
Yeah, good luck.
Your microphone is off there, dear. No, you got to put the boom down. You were
that
saying
brownie hasn't even taken effect yet. But I was gonna say that would be your life's goal.
Hey, you know what? There's worse things I could aim to achieve.
Gotta have goals.
So, but yeah, that's kind of where it's at for me this week. It's been a light gaming week. Tragically, it's just been a real heavy life week lately.
Hey,
so
yeah, it's the real sad part about getting older that no one tells you.
No, everybody tells you. You just
you don't listen.
Wrong.
To them. You're just like, no, I'm not falling for it.
Right.
But you do, because you need a house and you need a place to live, and that's just the way it works.
Pretty much. I'm also super excited for tomorrow morning because I'll get a new Metroid Dread trailer to be excited about.
Yes, we got another one too last week, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, I was very surprised too that at the end of the Dread report last week, they're like, and we'll be back on the 27th in just a week with another trailer.
It's like, how much are they going to show us of the game? I guess they only have a few weeks left, so.
Yeah, just a hair over a month now.
Yeah, 5 weeks.
And even with everything they've shown, they simultaneously haven't really shown a ton either.
Countdown to my birthday, because it's 2 days after my birthday. And that's when it's coming out. So. That's how I keep track, because I'm a very simple man, so that's this stuff I like.
Apparently, I was told once that game comes out, he's going to lock himself away for days, and apparently I'm just supposed to...
take care of everything?
Not for days in terms of I'm going to be gone for a week kind of thing. All I said is I'm going to cease to exist for about 2 days.
That's 2 days too long.
The last time I did that was Gears 3, I think, when I just like disappeared.
Wow, that's been a while.
Yeah, it just disappeared. And I just was being fed beer from another room. I don't know where it came from. But I just played the
kept showing up.
Yep. And I played the campaign. And then I got into the multiplayer and I just played.
Oh God. Actually, on a related subject, a throwback, I wrote a piece years ago called "The Perfect All-Nighter." That's somewhere in our archives in the Podbean feed. That's worth a read if that kind of thing is your thing. So
Like Mountain Dew and grabbing your favorite game and all that.
Yep. I remember exactly what game it was too that I wrote about in that piece, or that I was playing that night that I wrote about. It was Oddworld: Abe's Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
So take it way back. And just like everything about that night was just perfect. It was awesome.
Simple pleasures.
Right.
It is. Like I have weird details from that night just locked
Right.
in my head.
Right.
Like I remember just kind of the environment around me. I remember, like the weather outside
How it
and
smelled and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
So,
all
like-
permanently ingrained in my brain.
One of my things was like when I first became like an adult, kind of like quote unquote an adult, I was like 20 something, like 20. I think I was like 20. And I had my first full-time job, and it was summer. And I remember I took because I got vacation time, because they gave me vacation time. So I took like 4 days off. And I remember the night before, because I was like working and I'm like, I'm going to go home and do this. I went to the store. I bought like all my snacks, like 6 2-liters of Mountain Dew. And I just went into my room and I never left. I just went out to go to the bathroom, come back in, eat my snacks. My mom would come up like after about 48 hours. My mom's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." But I was just playing GameCube and just living the dream.
So, complete and utter side note, why is Mountain Dew just the gamer drink of choice?
High
Copious
sugar,
amounts of sugar and caffeine.
sugar and caffeine, and not a lot of carbonation. So it and when you're young, that's the drink. I mean, I used to drink that. If you're a white guy, you drink Mountain Dew. I mean, that was just it.
Okay, I'm sitting there and I'm like, every gamer dude I know tells me yeah, me and some Mountain Dew. And I'm like, what is this obsession with Mountain Dew? I just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, okay, now I know.
As an older pre-diabetic gamer, I now drink Mountain Dew Zero. So
So
Same.
does Larry.
I love that stuff. I'm starting to like it. It's way better than Diet Mountain Dew.
Amen.
As someone that has the ability to drink regular Mountain Dew, I'm even you know what? This isn't too bad.
It's good.
I don't really have any complaints. It's definitely got a thing of its own, but it's not terrible.
No.
I would say, all things considered, it's pretty damn close.
Agreed.
So, and for me, Mountain Dew was always a thing just on terms of taste
Yes.
preference.
Yeah.
So,
We used to drink about a 2-liter when I was back in the day.
I do think it's just also a gamer thing because my ex was a huge gamer. He drank Mountain Dew. So anytime we went to the store, our house is full of Mountain Dew. And then Larry likes Mountain Dew, and LaGrew likes Mountain Dew. I need to go on our Facebook chat and be like, how many of you, your pop choice is Mountain Dew? And I bet you it'll be everybody but me and Kathy.
watch
bet you
Kathy's
Kathy-
gonna be like, yeah.
She loves Mountain
I'd
Dew
laugh
too.
if Kathy was like,
I bet you
No,
she
I'm-
does.
I'm putting this in the chat.
Kathy's the type that likes Mountain Dew.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Solidly.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Also, Against the Moon is on sale on GOG right now too.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
I think it's
solid.
$10.
Yeah, it's solid.
So, you know, there's that. Like, if we weren't like super pinched right now, I wouldn't hesitate to pull that trigger.
Right.
So, but yeah, so that's what I've been playing, which means I think we're at a point where we should maybe go check in with Hard Copy Hounds for the Hard Copy Hounds report, and we'll come back for the third half of this show and get into a rather serious topic this week of discussion, and we'll do all that right after the break. Welcome to Hard Copy Hounds, powered by World 1-1 and sponsored by Premium Edition Games and their upcoming Series 3 release, Cathedral. Let's get into the Hard Copy Hounds report. Starting out with LimitedRunGames.com, you can currently pick up and or order your copies of the following: Blood Rain, Betrayal, Fresh Bites on the Switch and PlayStation 4, with open pre-orders going live September 3rd and running through October 3rd. Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler Bundle on the Switch is an open pre-order till September 12th. Dusk for the Switch is an open pre-order till September 26th. Haven for the Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5 are an open pre-order till September 19th. One Step from Eden for the Switch and PlayStation 4 is an open pre-order and goes live on September 10th till October 10th. Quake on Switch and PlayStation 4 is currently an open pre-order till September 26th. River City Girls for the PlayStation 5 is in an open pre-order till September 12th. Shantae, Half Genie Hero for the PlayStation 5 is in an open pre-order till September 26th, as is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse for the PlayStation 5. Taking a look at Limited Run Games' distribution line, you can currently order and pick up your copies of Neon Abyss for the Switch in open pre-order till September 26th, Shadows of Adam for the Switch and PlayStation 4, the Falconeer Warrior Edition for Switch, PlayStation 4, and PS5. The Town of Light on PlayStation 4 is an open pre-order with 2,500 units available worldwide. Victor Vran Overkill Edition for the Switch and PlayStation 4. Death End Request on Switch is in hand. Hyperlight Drifter for the Switch is also in hand. Harvest Moon One World for the Switch is currently in an open pre-order. Billion Road for the Switch is in hand. Holy Potatoes Compendium for the Switch is in hand, as is Reigns of Ruin. Super Epic The Entertainment War for Switch and PlayStation 4 are both in hand and ready to ship. Ark of Alchemist for the Switch is in hand and ready to go. Thea, The Awakening for Switch and Mercenary Wings for PlayStation 4, both in hand and ready to ship. Where the Water Tastes Like Wine for the Switch and PlayStation 4. Dark Complete Edition for Switch and PlayStation 4 are currently available for pre-order through September 5th. Dragon Star Varnier for the Switch is in hand and ready to ship. Next on the list, we're looking at SuperRareGames.com, where you can currently order your copies of Last of June, the Me Poo Me Collection, Unrailed, Ida, Yes Your Grace, Monster Prom XXL, Old School Musical, Little Inferno, Smoke and Sacrifice, and Roki, all for the Switch. Dropping down the list, we're going to take a look next at SpecialReserveGames.com, where you can order your copies of Demon Throttle for the Switch, which is currently in open pre-order till October 13th. Piku Niku for the Switch, Heave Ho for the Switch, and coming soon is both Loop Hero and Weird West. Next up, we've got our sponsor, PremiumEditionGames.com, where you can currently put in your orders for Super Blood Hockey, Pigeon Dev Games Collection, and coming soon, Cathedral, all for the Switch. Next, we're going to take a look at StrictlyLimitedGames.com, where you can currently order copies of Rolling Gunner plus Overpower for Switch and PlayStation 4, Spelunker HD Deluxe for the Switch and PS4, Speed Limit for Switch and PlayStation 4, Clockwork Aquario on the Switch and PS4, Last Labyrinth for PS4 only, Bubble Bobble 4 Friends, The Baron is back for both Switch and PS4, Darius Extra Version for the Genesis and Mega Drive, A Magical High School Girl for the Switch, Darius Cosmic Revelation on Switch and PS4, Turrican Anthology Volume 1 and Turrican Anthology Volume 2, both for PlayStation 4 and the Switch. Mega Turrican Director's Cut for Genesis and the Mega Drive. Super Turrican 1 and Super Turrican 2 copies are available for the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom. Space Invaders Invisible Collection for the Switch. Pressure Overdrive for Switch and PS4. No Heroes Here for the PlayStation 4. Coffee Talk on Switch and PlayStation 4. Darius Cosmic Collection for the PlayStation 4. Lode Runner Legacy is available for Switch and PS4. Necrosphere Deluxe for the PlayStation 4, and The King's Bird for PlayStation 4. Looking at Strictly Limited Games Partner Store, you can put in your orders for Connect Tank for the Switch and PlayStation 4, Star Renegades for Switch and PlayStation 4, Witch Spring 3 Refined for the Switch, Wonder Boy Asha in Monster World for Switch and PlayStation 4, Cotton Reboot on PlayStation 4 and the Switch, Root Double for the Switch, Ys Origins on PlayStation 4 and Switch, Crosscode for the PlayStation 4, and Umihara Kawase Bazooka for Switch and PlayStation 4. Sliding on down, we've got, next on the list, IAM8bit.com, which currently has available Mutazone on PlayStation 4 and Switch, Spiritfarer for the Switch and PS4, Disco Elysium Final Cut Collector's Edition on PlayStation 5, Ori Collector's Edition for the Switch is currently in an open pre-order, Manifold Garden for Switch and PlayStation 5, Etherborn on the PS4 and Switch, both for the Switch, Spinch and Grindstone, Rez Infinite Eco Forward Edition for the PlayStation 4, The Pathless on PlayStation 5, the Annapurna Deluxe Edition for PlayStation 4, Untitled Goose Game for Switch and PS4, both for the PS4, Wadham and Inside, Gone Home on the Switch, Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo. Moving down, we've got SignatureEditionGames.com coming in with copies of 30-in-1 Game Collection for the Switch, Alex Kidd and Miracle World DX for Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox One, Origami 2 on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, Bomber Crew on PlayStation 4 and Switch, Bounty Battle for Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, Brawlout and Candle, both available for the PlayStation 4, Children of Morta on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Cloudpunk is available for Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Darkest Dungeon and Dead Cells, both available for the PlayStation 4, with Dead Cells also being available for the Switch. Dungeon of the Endless available on Switch and PS4, For the King on Switch and PlayStation 4. Frostpunk available both for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Hellpoint currently available for Switch and PS4. Hero Defense you can grab your copy of for the PlayStation 4. House Flipper has copies available on Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Instant Sports Summer Games is available on Switch. The Long Reach for PlayStation 4, Harvest Moon on Switch, Moonlighter for PS4, Northgard for Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Riot Civil Unrest for the PlayStation 4. New this week is Road 96 for the Switch, Runbow on Switch and PS4. Sparklight is available for Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Spirit of the North available on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and the Switch. Stranded Sails for Switch, PS4, and the Xbox One. Streets of Rage 4 is currently available for Switch, PS4, Xbox, and PC. And brand new, the Streets of Rage 4 Anniversary Edition, available exclusively for the Switch. Terraria is available on PC only. Ultimate Chicken Horse, a Nayversary Edition, available for the Switch. Unbox Newbie's Adventure for the PS4, Valfaris and Vaporum both on the Switch, and rounding out SignatureEditionGames.com is Yonder, the Cloudcatcher Chronicles for Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Almost at the end here, we're looking at East Asia Soft and Play Asia partnered together, where you can grab copies of Seabed for the Switch, Trigger Witch on Switch and PlayStation 5, Rainbow Skies for PS4 and PS Vita, Rainbow Moon for PS4 and PS Vita, Alchemic Joust and Rive both on PlayStation 4, Semispheres and Tachyon Project both available for PlayStation 4 and PS Vita, Caveman Warriors and Vesta, as well as Bleed plus Bleed 2 for the PlayStation 4. On Epic available on PS4, X-Morph Defense and Black Sea Odyssey, as well as Devious Dungeon and Leap of Fate, all available for the PlayStation 4. Fall of Light Darkest Edition on PS4. Panty Party Perfect Body is available for the Switch, as is Murder by Numbers, Morio Crystal H, If My Heart Had Wings, and lastly, Distraint Collection, all available on the Nintendo Switch. And last on the Hard Copy Hounds report this week, we're taking a look at Fangamer.com, which currently has available copies of Bugsnax for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 right now in an open pre-order. Later Alligator for the Switch, Stardew Valley on Switch, Hollow Knight for both Switch and PS4, Undertale on Switch, PlayStation 4 and PC, Slime Rancher with copies available on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, Spelunky on PS4 and PC, and last but not least, Hyperspace Outlaw for the Switch is currently in an open pre-order from Fangamer.com. And that's the Hard Copy Hounds report. And as always, fuck the scalpers. And we're back with the third half of the show. This week we're going to deep dive into a current semi-hot button topic. It seems to kind of be flashing in and out of the news cycle here over the last several weeks. This week we are taking a look at media and journalism's responsibility and culpability for the present Activision, Ubisoft, Blizzard situation, and what their role in it and level of responsibility is. So let's start with a quick primer, because this is something we don't tend to do a whole lot of anymore in terms of news of the week, but just to kind of bring the details a little bit up to snuff here. Specifically in regards to Activision Blizzard, the state has filed charges against Activision Blizzard for workplace environment, professional workplace discrimination, allegations of sexual harassment, misconduct, and then there's also, up to including the death of a woman who took her own life due to the treatment that she received working there in that environment. Now, additionally, to further bring a few details up to present for those not entirely in the loop, the additional charges have been brought. It's either additional charges have been brought or the charges have been updated and amended to include that Activision Blizzard has not maintained standards with records keeping, including shredding documents that could and likely were evidence of the charges being brought against them. And just today, as of recording, the newest stupid thing to lump into this, and we'll talk about how this all kind of ties together in a deeper way, but the Overwatch character McCree, the cowboy, it was announced,
that was just today.
Yeah, it was. It was
crazy.
Announced that they will be changing the name of McCree canonically in game, because he was named after a Blizzard employee who is now no longer with the company, though it has not been said, I don't believe, whether their parting of ways had anything to do explicitly or directly with allegations of misconduct from McCree himself.
Right.
So that's kind of the short Reader's Digest version. And I know I mentioned Ubisoft as well. There is a whole heap of bullshit fuckery that's been going on with Ubisoft over the last several years as well, but there hasn't been a whole lot of recent conversation on anything happening over on that side of things. But know that there are not terribly dissimilar things happening and have been happening at Ubisoft for years as well. But tonight's conversation, though, let's dig in. the question I pose to you is, knowing that this has been going on and known about for years, bordering on close to a decade, how much responsibility lies at the feet and rests on the shoulder of games journalism media, mainstream media? How much of that is on their head?
I mean,
So-
I don't know. Like, who wants to start?
Zoe, I'm going to toss
Oh,
it
you
over
wanna
to you to start.
I was wanting to start anyway. So I find it funny that we're talking about this because it makes me think of God, what the hell, Newsroom, where he was
Mhm.
talking about like the responsibility of journalists and what to report, and not because it's the hot next thing, but because it's the truth and people need to know. And I'm just like, I think a lot of people forget, or not necessarily forget, but just like, it sucks that news places are just run like any other business, and they're trying to make money, and if it's not going to make them money, or especially not just not make them money, but can potentially make them lose money, they're not going to want to fucking do it. And so yeah, they might have known about it, but that's when they could potentially call and be like, hey, I've got this dirt on you that I could or could not put out there. What are you gonna do about it? And it just kind of sucks that they are able to kind of get that leeway. So I don't know if I find it the responsibility of just a journalist, because even if one journalist did, and like, let's say they went to the higher ups and they said no, they then have to choose between, do I keep my job, or do I leave this and then leak it? Like, there's a lot going into it, so I don't know if I necessarily blame journalists on their own, but I know I would definitely blame like news conglomerates in general.
Josh?
So I'm trying to like formulate my thoughts here. Like, I don't know if I blame the individual journalists either. But I do blame the system for which they work under, because what they do is they know things by virtue of talking to people. And if certain things are illegal or are harming others, they should come forward with them no matter what, right? And so I think that maybe that's the portion we need to talk about more. Like if they knew like sexual impropriety was going on, or harassment of women, or anything, even if they heard an inkling of it, why wouldn't they bring it to the attention of, or even if maybe they did, we just haven't heard about it yet, but why wouldn't they bring it to attention of someone else? Like, get some adults in the room, because I think that game journalism, and I use that term loosely because lately it's not been journalism at all, but it just seems like that they're very immature, and they don't take things seriously, like when they're brought to them. If it was a regular journalist, like if this journalist worked for ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever,
Yeah.
they would have brought forward some of this stuff, because this is like hurting real people.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it is news, but it's hurting real people. And so I just like when you're doing that, I just think that like some of the responsibility has to be on them. If they knew about it, and if they didn't, and they were just turning a blind eye, or they did and they were turning a blind eye, that's culpable. I mean, in a lot of places you could get, in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, not just hurting people. This is your friendly reminder. At the end of the day, a woman is dead.
Yes, someone died.
Yeah.
Like, if
It's heavy stuff. It's not like oh, it's like all fun and games it's just the good old boys, That it seems like to me that kind of attitude was like back when I was in high school. Like that kind of stuff just happened. Like, not people killed themselves, but things happen and people are just like, oh, that's just them.
yeah,
But that's not like what we live in today. And so I think that looking on that, we should hold them to the standard that we live at. Like, and you know, I feel that's what I feel anyway. I mean, what do you got? What do you feel, Larry?
So here's kind of where my head's been at on the subject for the last couple of weeks. One, yes, there's a level of responsibility and blame to be laid at the feet of both just plain media and journalism. I'm not saying journalist, but journalism as a collective, as a profession, because it was not being covered, and it should have been. But very specifically, or even much more so, that blame and responsibility and fault should be laid at the feet of games journalism and press, because it's like, this is your industry. Cover
Right.
your shit
Right.
correctly. You know, it's
Agreed.
not like this was not known, and as
It was
the years
kind of hush
went on,
hush. Yeah.
you know, it was hush hush, like Harvey Weinstein's shit. Was
Exactly,
hush,
like,
hush.
Like it was in the industry,
Welcome
it
to the
was
biggest
known,
open secret in the industry.
but outside it wasn't, and that's where I think that's where the responsibility lied, right?
Right.
And
That's the first domino that should have fallen and didn't. Was games journalism and media should have been broadcasting this loudly enough that it was being picked up outside of just our industry.
I was gonna say, I was like, you know, people like me who don't pay attention to gaming news, like, honestly, if Larry hadn't even told me all this was going on with Blizzard, I wouldn't know about it,
Right.
because
Even now you wouldn't know about it because it's not even being yelled at. You'd have to stumble across it, really.
yeah, like, he told me there's something going on with Blizzard, and I'm like, what's going on with who now? Like, it doesn't even cross my feet because I don't pay attention to that at all. And so I'm just like, somebody died, and the only people that seem to know about it or care is the gaming community. Why is this not being broadcasted louder? Why aren't bigger networks getting a hold of the story? Because, like Larry said, if the bigger named ones got a hold of this story and were able to put and get that much pressure that they have from their, you know, viewers on there, like, it would, you know, I feel like it would also change the narratives, because it's not just gamers getting on Blizzard, it'd be like everybody. And I think because sometimes gamers get viewed as, you know,
Immature.
immature, and
Yeah.
people either
Young.
like young immature,
Yeah.
you know, people, or like older dudes that live in their mom's basement and don't do shit, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, there's that trope there, and so I feel like sometimes gamers aren't taken seriously, a lot of the time, honestly. And I'm just like, if these other people pick this up, maybe it would be taken more seriously.
Now, I will say, to kind of backtrack about 2 steps on something you said, another problem though is that even if the games media had picked it up and been broadcasting it sooner, the problem is probably about 50% of the gaming community wouldn't give a shit. And I'm
Right.
going to give you an example here. I was listening into a Twitter space about 2 weeks ago. It's a weekly one hosted by somebody at Forbes, I believe, if I remember correctly. I could be mistaken. But their guest speaker was Jason Schreier. And one of the question I asked, or I submitted, which was promptly glossed right over and not brought up or answered, was, you know, just this: does media and journalism, especially games media and journalism, you know, have some semblance of responsibility of what happened here, because they have not, you know, spoken loudly and consistently about this over the years that it's been going on, like mainstream media has been covering with seemingly just glee and delight things like
Crunch.
Amazon and Google and the work environments there.
Right.
And so, however, one question that did make it to the front, and I cannot tell you how hard I wanted to reach through the internet and punch somebody in the fucking throat,
Sure.
was this guy was passed the mic so that he could ask Jason Schreier, do you think that this is going to affect the quality of Blizzard's upcoming releases? The fuck is wrong with you? There is somebody dead and buried in the ground, and that's your concern? Get the fuck out!
Yeah, because that's people. That's a lot of gamers. They're just like selfish.
This is your wake-up call. If that is your priority, and don't get me wrong, I very much consider this, if not just my passion, my industry, my wheelhouse. Even though I may not necessarily be gainfully employed in it, I still kind of exist in semi sort of work here. And guess what? You have just become the worst representation of all of us as a whole. And I say this with all due love, care, and affection. But if that's your question and that's your genuine concern, you should have been aborted. Fuck off this planet. And get the fuck out of my community.
Yeah, go ahead, Zoe.
I was just gonna say like that. Okay, and I don't know if this is just like apathy setting in with just how like the world is, but like that's all I think, and I'm like, I'm not surprised. Everyone cares about themselves, and everyone cares about, I feel like, how much money they make, and I'm just like not to like hop on that like wagon for a second, but like I'm gonna derail and talk about this whole thing with COVID, and I'm just like, I just feel like they don't care about someone dying. They're like, oh no, is someone dying gonna hurt my profits? Like that's what we're worried about. That's our priority. Like what the like, I can't even process that somebody would care more about the money being lost than the fact that, oh no, these actions caused somebody to die. Like I just don't get it. But like, to me, I'm like, that's kind of how I feel the world is going at the moment. Excuse my apathetic mood.
No, it's understandable.
It's not even apathy. It's just, I think it's
Burnout.
just general disgust and burnout of what's happening, especially in the United States. There's a lot of things happening that, like, obviously maybe the individual, it starts with the individual, but it gets into these big groups and everyone just gets polarized, and we just get sick and tired of talking about some of the stuff. And I understand that one comment from maybe a different point of view, Larry. It's like, maybe that person, like, gaming is their only release from whatever hell they're living every day. And maybe he's thinking, it's worded poorly. It's not right. And it's terrible. And I would agree with you that person probably is not have his head in the right place, or her head, or whatever. But do you really think, like, I don't really think that I really want to think the best of people, and I don't think people really think that. I just think that maybe in the context of the gaming sphere, that maybe that's what they were thinking about. God, I hope so.
Right?
I hope that maybe that's just like, I've said shitty stuff that I don't really like. Even like 20 minutes after I say it, I said, I can't believe I said that, because that's not representative of me.
Yeah.
And maybe it was taken, especially on the internet, maybe something's taken out of context, or just kind of like you're not, really thinking about it. It's hard though. But I mean, back to the whole thing of like, that's part of the reason maybe that they didn't answer the question, is because they don't want to take any responsibility for it. And that's part of the problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, that's the problem, is that no one wants to say, oh, I'm to, like, not to blame, but like the buck stops here. And then let's move on. But you're right though. I take responsibility for that, and then let's move on. Because we can change it if we own it, but it's hard
Right.
to change when you don't own it because you're always blaming someone else. If it's always someone else's problem, how are you going to change it, right?
Honestly, as a teacher, I see that so much in the youth. So let's say student A is doing something that is bothering student B,
Right.
and then student B is upset about it and says, hey, I don't like this thing that you're doing. Student A usually yells at student B for being so sensitive rather than being like, oh no, I
sorry.
did something,
Yeah.
that upset you. I'm sorry. And I'm like, no one wants to be the bad guy. No one can be the bad guy. I feel like everyone's walking around like their shit don't stink. And I'm just
Right.
like, can we humble ourselves just a little bit and realize,
It's just
Like,
part
as
of the
much-
narcissism that we're in now.
yeah,
yeah.
that's it. And don't get me wrong, I still think I'm the shit most of the time. We'll go with that. I think I'm the
Well,
shit
you are
most
probably,
of the time.
but yeah.
Hey, I said I think I'm the shit most of the time. I am the shit all the time, but sometimes my brain be like, I don't know about
Sure.
today. But anywho, everyone's walking around like they're the best person alive and nothing they do could possibly be wrong. Like, I've had students literally do shit they know is wrong. I reprimand them and then legit, with all seriousness, look at me and go, what'd I do? And I'm like, do you really not, you know better. You're not dumb,
Sure.
but they just don't care because it's like, well, I did it, so I'm fine. Or if no one directly gets injured,
Right.
they don't care. And to them, feelings is not injury. They're just being soft. And I'm just like, what in the fuck? If this is our future, I feel like Gen Z, I was like, okay. I felt like they were just maybe too far one way and just extremists. But I was like, okay, you've got maybe some good ideas, but y'all go to the extreme of all the shit. But then after them, we got a generation of people that just don't give a fuck. And I'm just like, if that's the generation that's got to take care of me when I'm old.
You know
And I
what?
feel like
though?
my parents
So-
said the same shit.
Yes, they do.
But
And what you're describing is what I've been researching actually for a long time now, is a generational shift where every generation blames the generation younger. It happened with boomers blamed my generation. The Gen Xers were really blamed. Gen Xers blame millennials. Millennials blame Gen Z. It just goes, and as that evolves. So for example, my grandparents called World War II the good war. That was a good war. And we look back on that now, we're like, that's terrible. It was terrible. Millions of people died. Yeah, but it was a good war to have because we needed to have it. And so that generation, when you're looking back on it, it doesn't translate to the present. And so every generation does that. It's this looking back thing. And we don't really look forward. It's really weird. We don't look forward to the next generation. We're not saying but as they age and mature, they're going to do the same thing. And so I think it's important to realize that they'll change too. Hopefully they change for the better because of the lessons we learned today. That's why it's so important to teach these people that this stuff is bad or that this idea is wrong, so that when they get to be older and they can teach the younger generation, right? So some of that's been lost a little bit, but that's what I'm this whole thing with journalism, it kind of brings it all back, because when you're looking at that, were they ever journalists, because game journalists were maybe thrown to the wayside a little bit, that they didn't think they really had a seat at the table. So maybe they just thought that generation, because game journalism, games really only came about in the last 40 years or so, that they're really here. And so they're trying to find their place, and maybe we need to hold them to a higher standard too, and say, hey, you have responsibility that you don't even know you have, and even if you don't want it, you have it. And so what do you do with it? And maybe we need to teach them that, hey, you need to, we want you to be more than what you think you are. and that could be a good lesson to learn.
I would also just a related thought here. I would refer everybody to, and I will leave a link to it also in the show notes along with the other thing, a article or a piece that was written by Holly Green over on Paste Magazine. I know I shared it in the group chat. I don't know if you got a chance to blitz through it or not, but and I did also share a link out to it on our Twitter feed. But it talks about the weird feeling of working in games journalism now and going, how do I do my job in the middle of some of this? Because, you know, Holly was speaking specifically about essentially covering and not review. What's the word I was looking for?
Critique.
I don't know. There you go. Critiquing the Diablo 2 Resurrected open beta.
Yeah.
You know, in a preview format. And it's like, it's kind of my job to do this, but is it okay to do this considering what's, you know, kind of intrinsically connected to it? And it does complicate things, but at the same time, you know, I don't know. And I can sympathize with Holly on those weird feelings. You know, it's
like, what is
difficult.
okay? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
What-
like, should I, or, you know, do we? And
Do you cancel
No,
a
it's
whole
diff-
company out? You know, like, do you not do that stuff?
right. And I mean, like we talked about, you know, a couple of weeks ago, even then, that's not always so much a cut and dry situation either.
Right.
I just saw something crop up talking about the Overwatch renaming of McCree, and it was somebody, and I can't confirm, I didn't poke enough, it kind of passed my feed a little too quickly for me to sink my teeth into it a little deeper, but talking about the fact that, you know, all this backlash directed at, you know, the Overwatch team is misdirected because they didn't have anything to do with that part of Blizzard and da-da-da-da-da. And part of me is like, no, I get it. But one, from the outside looking in, sure, you're the Overwatch team, but that's still Blizzard, for one, which is also now still Activision. So, two, looking from the outside in, how does anybody know that nobody on the Overwatch team specifically did or did not have anything to do with this shit?
Yeah, you don't know.
You know, additionally, you know, like, look, if somebody there obviously had enough of a friendship connection to, you know, the McCree guy on, you know, that was at Blizzard, that, you know, this character now needs to be renamed, then I don't know how much of that I buy, because it sounds like there's some connections there somewhere. And then additionally, the way that post rolled out bugged me, because it's like,
Yeah.
we're changing the name, and don't worry, we'll make it make sense in the story and
Canonically, yeah, I know.
right.
Yeah.
Instead of going, we are fully and wholly aware of the connection that this character's name has to this individual with whom there are issues, and that is like there. You could tell that was very delicately worded press release to avoid talking about it and giving any semblance of oxygen or ownership as a company or as an agent or part of Blizzard to the issue at hand and what's causing it. And then additionally, I just found myself further disgusted rolling in the comments with, the majority of them, at least at a quick read through, were people getting upset about, or worrying about, well, how is this going to make fucking sense? How is this going to be the same character, but you're going to change the name? And it's like, I'm just like, if that's your concern, we have a bigger problem here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I agree.
Plain and fucking simple. And if the person who, made said comment about the Overwatch team being wrongfully on the receiving end of this backlash ever happens to hear this episode, which I somehow doubt, but you never know. I won't write it off entirely, but I'm not knocking you, but at the same time, in the scope of everything going on, that statement alone does nothing to confirm or reaffirm any faith in me that the Overwatch team is completely free of anything going on here either. So, if that's the case, I'm real sorry that you're wrapped up in this, but you need to be aware of your surroundings, and 2, you're gonna have to do a little bit of public education then, if that's the case, to show that we as the entire Overwatch team have nothing to do with anything to do with any of that shit, which, given that that's all a Blizzard company, I'm not sure how much of that I buy.
Yeah, no offense. Like, shit like that isn't... You can only, I feel like, keep it hush-hush before it becomes this well-known secret. And it's that thing that, like, everyone knows but we don't talk about. Like, it's like in my school, my principal's like, yeah, we don't diss our district. And then, like, following that statement, he goes, I know we do have a lot of problems. But we're like, we know that there's stuff, but we're just not allowed to, like, publicly talk about it. It's like one of those things, like, and I'm just like, that's skeevy as hell. Like, because I work for you, I can't openly say how I feel. Like, I mean, I get it, trust me. Like, I get that there's a reason for that. You can't have employees bashing the company they work for. But also, it's like, maybe you should do better. Like, being able to fire somebody on that alone seems like bullshit to me. I mean, like I said, I get it. Because, you don't want someone bashing you that works for you because it looks bad. But I'm like, that should say something to you if, like, a majority of your employees are just like, hey, no, stop.
Yeah. So, it needed to be talked about. The whole topic, frankly, depresses me. But it needed to be talked about, and I don't think I will shake it for a while yet. I will say, however, on that note, and it was also made mention of in the question that I threw out there that was never touched a couple weeks ago on Twitter in the space with Schreier, which that Schreier's its own topic for another day. But I did make mention, though, that Sterling has been covering this and screaming it at the top of their lungs for years now. And once all this popped off, frankly, I thought it was incredibly disingenuous and disgusting to me that in the blitz of this coverage, even though it flashed in and out as fast as it did. But in the blitz of this coverage, I had yet to see a single mention of Sterling's name and the fact that they've been covering this for years.
Right.
I'm like, you cannot say you did not know.
Yeah.
Because if you genuinely did not know, you're an idiot and you suck at your job. The information has been freely out there for years. And if you did know and you did nothing, there's a dead woman's blood on your hands. End of the day. That's it.
Which is the
So,
sad reality of that. But then, like, I know a bunch of people that will say, well, I didn't do anything directly and it's not my fault, and they will just run with that. And that is also the sad reality, that you'll have people that were like, well, I didn't directly do anything, so whatever.
but that's something they're going to have to live with. And I mean, I will freely admit to, the fact that it's not something that we really covered either, until this has come up. But I'm also not inherently looking to cover the story so much as some of the other issues behind it intrinsically. Like I said, we started getting away from the news of the week format quite some time ago, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But no, it's not something that we really talked about over the course of our 5 years of existence either, and that bugs me a little too. Granted, I get the benefit of probably being a little less conflicted in terms of being a gamer, and the fact that I don't really have any particular affinity or love for Blizzard's games or content. It's not my cup of tea. So I don't get stuck in that fandom predicament of I'm not stuck in the middle of the J.K. Rowling Harry Potter, predicament.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's an apt analogy. Sue me.
Yeah, I know.
No,
I know
it is. As someone who is an avid Harry Potter fan,
I know, and you and I have
who
had
does
this
not
talk.
identify as like cisgendered, I'm just like,
I also think, hey, this is a whole nother podcast, or maybe we can edit this part out, but I think that a lot of JK's comments are taken out of context. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand what she's actually talking about. She's not being anti-trans. She's being pro-woman, which is different. Like pro-cis woman, which is different. And that's okay. I think both are valid. That's a different conversation, though, I think.
yeah, that's an entirely different conversation.
I mean, I can make a comparison, but this probably isn't quite the forum for that. So I'll let that one rest. Like I said, it was the closest and fastest analogy I could pull.
No,
here.
I hear you.
Well, I was
But
just gonna say, as
the
someone who
predicament
is a
is the
Harry
same.
Potter fan, and like my feelings for J.K. Rowling, my thing was like, when I got into this, was it for her, or because I loved this world that got built? Now, do I try to go and do my best now to buy Harry Potter merch that is not tied to her? Yes, because Etsy is a wonderful fucking thing. So there's a lot of stuff that like I can find that money won't end up going to her. So I do try to do that, but with video games, that's a lot harder to do.
Oh,
because they're like, if I really want the books, I do not own a hard copy of the books, and I want them now.
Thrift
I know
shop.
whoever
Thrift
I
shop.
get them from.
Thrift shops.
Oh, I know. I just don't have them because I want them all like hardback and
Thrift
the
shop.
pretty ones.
I've seen them. You just have to keep going.
I know. I'm getting there.
You got to
But,
remember, thrift shops around you are way different than up here.
True. But you know, like part of me is like tied between like I really want these books, but I know because they're the books, if I buy them, like I have to support. So like it's really weird when it comes to stuff like that. So in that sense, I guess I could understand a gamer being like, but I really like this thing, but there's no way to get around paying this person for this thing that I like, even though I don't like the person. So it becomes this weird, like, separating the art from the artist type thing.
And the article, the linked article by Holly gets into some of that too. So for anybody listening, I do very strongly recommend getting into the show notes and checking out that linked article over on Paste Magazine. Holly did a phenomenal job. As a matter of fact, actually reached out to Holly. It was very last minute because that article came across my feed literally hours before scheduled recording this evening, and tried to get her to join us this evening. And from the sound of it, were it not for prior work obligations, she actually would have. So, in that, maybe that's something too that I may look at pursuing down the line to see if she'll come on and speak on maybe a related topic or something close to. We'll see, without necessarily just rehashing the whole conversation we've just had.
Sure.
So I think there's enough there to merit its own conversation, a little more specifically geared. So, but in any case, before we get too terribly long in the tooth tonight, I think maybe we've hit a good place to wrap for the evening. I'm going to toss it to both Zoe and LeGroux here. If you guys have any last words that you want to throw in.
That, and not even just related to this Blizzard thing, like, we really need to work on being better people, and by we I mean like we as the human race, but I guess not race, maybe just like as Americans, because I only know my own country. Like we gotta do better. Like, things like this can't happen and we turn a blind eye to it, or say, well, that's not, happening to me, so I'm just gonna go about my day, or, is this gonna hurt my chances of getting a video game? Is this, gonna hurt my chances of, like, we gotta be better to each other and care more, I think. And so just watching this whole Blizzard thing unfold is just, I just shake my head, because I'm just like, what have we turned into? Like, holy hell. I feel like my ideals of how I think the world should be, just, caring for one another, are now just like crazy fantasies. So that's what I want to say. Be better to people.
That's kind of like what I want to say too, is like, think of being, if you have the choice to be right or be kind, be kind. That's what if you're like talking to someone and you're right, and you're right, but you could be kind and not bash them, do that. Start small, because that's how it works. Be neighborly, that kind of thing. Like, I think like when we started getting away from, as a society, like in the United States especially, we started getting away from like knowing people around us. It was just so easy to just kind of like, oh, they're not like us, right? And when you do that, then you just don't think of them as people. And it's really easy not to be nice to people. And so I always think about, like, I'm talking to my grandma. So that's how I do it. And I make sure that I am actually talking nice to people. So I think if you start there, that's how you start with this, and you start changing everything. So That's what I would bring in there. So that's me.
I'm going to close out with just a couple of thoughts that I have for whatever little it matters. One, nobody makes the gaming community look worse than gamers.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Fuck, it's awful. And it is not all gamers by any means. There's probably a solid 50-50 split, but man, that awful 50% just seems to dominate the microphone in the worst ways possible. And to those people specifically, holy fuck, get your fucking priorities straight. Beyond that, you know what? If you're in journalism, press, media, you know, anywhere adjacent to that, frankly, pretty much every one of you dropped the ball on this. And I won't say that, I'm not going to say that in terms of absolutes. I leave room for the possibility that there are, you know, one or maybe a handful that honestly did their due diligence and just got steamrolled. But speaking to what I have seen, it just wasn't there, and it needed to be. To that end, for anybody working in journalism, the newsroom should be required viewing, and this incident is an exact reason why. And for those not in, it should also be required viewing, because it'll tell you the standard that you should hold journalism and media to, honestly. So, all the way around, there's a lot that needs to change to make it better. I don't know if it can ever be made right, but it can be made better. It needs to be made better. Yeah. So, I know this is not our more usual lively, chipper conversation that we provide on a sort of regular basis. We're getting back to regular. Makes me happy. But it is a much more meaningful conversation that I am proud to have at least been a part of, and to have the ability to put out and stand behind. So there's that takeaway, at least. But that said, let's wrap this for the evening before I get too deep into my own head on that thought too. So thank you to everybody that joined us this evening for what we had to offer. I know that this was a little harder topic, and it got a little heated for a hot minute or two there, but you know, some things needed to be said, and I stand by our general candidness on our opinions. Part of the perks of being beholden to no one, as it stands. So, thank you to both my co-hosts this evening, Josh and Zoe, for joining me. I would like to also end with a quick note too, that we are currently offering an open door access to our platform, however small it may be, to any of the Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft employees that have been in the middle of this situation that would like to feel comfortable and feel safe to do so, to tell their story, to shed some light. That door is immediately and instantly open to you. So if that is you, and or if that is somebody that you know, do us a solid and hopefully do them a solid and let them know that we are happy to share what little platform and voice we have to offer. Our DMs are always open on Twitter. It's the easiest and fastest way to reach out to us and get a hold of us at World11 or at World1_1 podcast on Twitter. My apologies. So yeah, we'll close it out there. Thank you everybody, and good night. Peace.